What's on? So basically for today's video, I'm be making like more of a sit down video today. So basically in this video, I'm be like kind of making like a announcement for like a vacation I'm be going on and giving some details of like some of the places I'm planning on seeing and hikes I'm doing and stuff like that. So basically my plan for this summer, I'm gonna be trying to do like a Pacific Northwest like redo trip, like kind of like similar to the trip that I did like 5 years ago whenever I went out to the Pacific Northwest for the first time and like my first like real road trip experience and all that. Even though I did think like parts of the trip were really enjoyable that summer, like getting to see a lot of like the Pacific Northwest for the first time and seeing like some of the national parks out there for like the first time and all that. Even though I did like have some good moments on that trip, I feel like it went wrong in a lot of ways and all that and just wasn't the best like overall trip and all that. So this year I'm gonna be trying to like go back out to the Pacific Northwest and do more out there than I got to the first time and get to see some national parks I didn't get to see like the first time I went there, like around the Yellowstone area. I'm gonna be going to Grand Teton. I'm also gonna be doing some more stuff around Yellowstone, and I'm also planning on trying to make my way up the glacier and like North Cascades. And whenever I go like to Seattle, I'm gonna try to see Olympic, which I didn't get to see the last time, and I'm planning on going back to Mount Rainier too. And it was probably one of my favorite moments I had on that 2021 trip, doing that trail at Mount Rainier, and I'm gonna try to see more of the Oregon coast and kind of stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to like do like a redo version of like how the 2021 trip was supposed to be like. So one of the things I'm planning on doing differently about this trip from the 2021 trip is this time I'm not gonna be going through like South Dakota to like get to like the Yellowstone area like I did that summer. I mainly went through that area like whenever I did that road trip so I could see like Mount Rushmore for the first time, but I'm not planning on going back out there this time because I feel like you don't really need to see it more than one time. So basically on this trip, especially since I'm gonna be starting off at Grand Teton, it's like more south of Yellowstone and all that. I'm planning on like taking the route through like Nebraska to get over there, and I'm planning on like stopping in Omaha and like seeing more than like just driving through there like I did in 2021. I'm planning on like actually stopping in there, and this time I'll actually get to like drive through Nebraska instead of like just going there briefly and all that. So that's one of the things I'm planning on doing differently. I'm also probably gonna be going through like the southern Wyoming and going through like Cheyenne and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be taking a different route to go there than I did in 2021 because I'm gonna be going to Grand Teton first and not Yellowstone, and I also don't need to see like Mount Rushmore again. So that's one thing I'm gonna be doing differently on this trip. Not only am I not gonna be seeing like the Mount Rushmore area again, but I'm also like probably not gonna be going out to like Crater Lake again like I did, or like around that area. And then I'm also probably not going to be going to like Pikes Peak and stuff like that again. So those are some other things I'm probably not going to be doing this time on this trip. So also this trip's possibly going to have less like city experience than the 2021 trip did. I'm also not planning on spending as much time in Seattle as I did on the 2021 trip, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to be going through Portland or not. So this is probably going to be possibly less cities in the 2021 trip, and it's definitely going to be less cities than I saw on last year's trip whenever I did the East Coast trip and all that. So but even though this trip's gonna be a lot less cities than on last year's trip and possibly the 2021 version of this trip, I'm planning on doing way more national parks than I did on both those trips. And I think this trip's gonna be like around 3 weeks long. The first trip that I did was like a 2 week long trip out to the Pacific Northwest, and this trip's probably gonna be about a week longer than that trip was, and also like slightly longer than last year's East Coast trip was, like by like 3 or 4 days. So I can have like more time to like spend at each of the national parks and more time to like see places throughout the Pacific Northwest. So I'm planning on like maybe having like around 35 videos out from this trip and all that. I'm not fully sure how many videos it's gonna come out to, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be around 35 videos I have out from this trip. So basically like whenever I do this trip, I'm planning on maybe spending around like 2.5 days at Grand Teton. I'm planning on spending like 2 nights there and possibly like a couple of half days there and then like one full like major day and all that, which I think on like the full day I'm planning on doing like the Phelps Lake hike and going and doing like their one cliff jump there, which is about like a 30-foot cliff jump approximately, possibly maybe somewhere between 20 and 30 feet. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna be doing that probably on the main day and I'm there. That's definitely gonna be one of the hikes I do whenever I go there because the cliff jumping spot, like I've seen videos of it on the internet and it just looks like a really nice area, really beautiful scenery. So I'm gonna at least do the jump once. I know the water's gonna be pretty cold, so I'm gonna have to prepare for that, but I'm gonna do it at least once because I feel like it's just something you gotta try out. So that's definitely one of the hikes I'm for sure gonna be doing whenever I go to Grand Teton. So, and then Yellowstone, I'm planning on like spending like 2 full days there and like 2 half days there. I think like on the last morning, I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of hiking. I'm probably just gonna maybe do like a small hike as I leave the park, maybe visit West Yellowstone, and then gonna be making my way to Glacier that day. So planning on spending like 2 full days at Yellowstone and like maybe a couple half days as well. Like that one day that I transitioned to Yellowstone from Grand Teton, and then a little bit of something maybe that last morning before I make my way to Glacier. So I'm planning on maybe seeing like the Old Faithful area again, possibly if I have some time. I think I'm gonna at least try to stop there, even though I did do that in 2021. But one of the hikes I'm for sure planning on doing at Yellowstone this time that I didn't get to do like whenever I was there the first time is the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. And I'm also planning on seeing like Brink of the Lower Falls and possibly the Upper Falls whenever I go to like the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. So that's one of the hikes I'm like for sure planning on trying to do whenever I go to Yellowstone this time. So, and it's possible I might try to like go back out to like the Grand Prismatic area and the Old Faithful again. So basically, whenever I get over to Glacier, I'm planning on spending like around the same amount of time there as I'm planning on spending around Grand Teton. So like 1 full day and like 2 half days. But I think like the second half day is gonna be like almost the length of a full day. So one of the hikes I'm for sure planning on doing whenever I get to like the Glacier area. I'm definitely for sure gonna try to do the Hidden Lake hike whenever I get there because it's supposed to be like one of their most popular hikes at the place and it's supposed to be like a really beautiful lake. And then I'm also planning on maybe doing like the St. Mary Falls hike and seeing some of the waterfalls there. They also do have a little bit of cliff jumping that you can do there that I've seen like throughout videos, but I'm probably not gonna be doing any cliff jumping if it's not gonna be like safe enough conditions whenever I'm out there at the time. But I mean, if the conditions are safe enough and I see like other people doing it and all that, I think I might do some cliff jumping there. So that one I'm not for sure if I'm actually gonna be doing cliff jumping or not. Depends on if the conditions are safe enough to be able to do it out there. But whenever I do the Grand Teton hike, the Phelps Lake, I'm for sure gonna be doing that cliff jump though. So, but I'm at least gonna try to like see those waterfalls whenever I do the St. Mary's Fall hikes. So basically, whenever I'm done with Glacier, I'm planning on making my way up to like North Cascades. I think I'm gonna be spending like maybe 2 half days there, so I'm not gonna be doing quite as much out there as I am at the like first 3 national parks I'm gonna be seeing. So I'm at least planning on doing like a couple of hikes there. They have like some smaller trails that you can do there, and one of the longer hikes I'm planning on doing there is the Thunder Knob Trail, which I think is about like 3.6 miles long. So I'm at least going to be doing that hike. And then I think I might try to do some of their smaller trails throughout the park and all that. It's possible I might do another like longer hike there if I have time, but I'm at least going to try to do the Thunder Knob hike whenever I get there. So I'm planning on spending maybe a little bit of time in Seattle, probably not as much as I did on the 2021 trip, but my plan is to hopefully like try to like make it up to like the Space Needle and see that for the first time because I didn't get to do that whenever I did the 2021 trip. So I think I'm at least gonna try to do that whenever I'm back at Seattle again. So I'm probably only gonna be spending like an evening there. I'm not gonna be spending like a full like 2 days again like I did in 2021, but I'm planning on seeing Seattle again at least for an evening, and I'm probably gonna at least maybe try to like do the Space Needle this time if I have enough time to do it. So I think I'm gonna prioritize doing that over anything else there because I mean I've already gotten to do like the Ferris wheel and see a lot of the other like things throughout Seattle the last time I was there. So whenever I'm like done with like visiting Seattle, I think like I'm gonna spend the night probably somewhere like around the Tacoma area since it isn't. I feel like it's just easier to stay there than trying to stay in Seattle, and also you get all the traffic out of the way and all that in the evening. So, and then I think the next morning I'm planning on making my way out to Olympic, and I'm planning on spending like a couple days at the park and all that, like maybe 2 half days, almost full days and all that. So one of the hikes I'm like for sure planning on doing whenever I go out to Olympic is the Hall of Mosses hike and all that. So I'm also going to be doing more trails out there, but I'm not for sure which other ones I'm going to be doing whenever I'm there, but I'm for sure at least going to try to do the Hall of Mosses trail because it's supposed to be like one of their most popular trails there, and I'm going to be spending the night at like a hot springs resort and trying out their hot springs and all that. So kind of similar to like what I did whenever I like ride in Colorado. Whenever I did the 2024 Colorado trip, I spent the first night at like this hot springs resort place. So that's like one of the things I'm gonna be doing whenever I go out to Olympic and all that. So I'm planning on spending like 2 like half days there. I think they're probably gonna be almost the length of a full day though. I'm gonna be spending a large portion of those 2 days out there. So basically the place I'm gonna be going to after Olympic, in the evening I'm gonna be arriving in the Mount Rainier area, and I think I'm gonna possibly, if I have enough time, maybe do like a smaller hike in the evening. I don't know how late I'm gonna be getting out there, because I mean, I might want to focus more of my time like in Olympic than Mount Rainier, because I've already gone to do like Mount Rainier in 2021. So I'm probably not gonna be spending as much time out there as I am at some of the other national parks that I did get to like experience in 2021, but I am planning on trying to like do a couple of like newer hikes there that I didn't get to do last time. And then I think one of the hikes I'm for sure gonna be doing is the one hike I did like the last time I was there, because it was like such a beautiful hike and just really nice scenery throughout that trail and all that. So, and I think I'm maybe gonna do like that hike to like that one waterfall that I got to see briefly. I didn't get to see like a whole lot of that waterfall, but I think I'm at least try to like see a lot more of it this time than I got to the first time. So that's my plan for that place. So basically the couple of days I have in between, like whenever I leave like Mount Rainier and then whenever I make my way to Redwoods, I'm not for sure like how those are gonna be played out, because I feel like a lot of that stuff I might end up changing my mind on, and depends on like how I'm feeling during the vacation. But there's like a couple possibilities of stuff I might do. It's possible I might make my way back out to like the Portland area and like seeing some of the waterfalls within the Columbia Gorge area, including Multnomah Falls again, and also seeing some other waterfalls around there. And if I have enough time, I might try to see Mount Hood, but that's probably very unlikely, to be honest. So, but the waterfalls like in the Columbia Gorge is definitely a lot more like, I feel like a possibility of actually making happen in Mount Hood. But it's possible instead of like seeing the Columbia Gorge area in Portland again, I might just make my way to Canyon Beach and seeing Ecola State Park and checking out that area before I like just drive down like the rest of the Oregon coast and see more there. So I'm not for sure how like all that's gonna play out, but I think I'm for sure gonna be seeing the natural bridges in like the southern part of Oregon coast, like no matter which of those routes I end up taking. So I think that's like almost guaranteed I'm gonna be doing that at least. So I'm also thinking I'm gonna be seeing like more stuff throughout the southern half of the Oregon coast, no matter which of those 2 routes I take, along with the natural bridges. So I'm at least for sure gonna be doing like some stuff on the Oregon coast. I'm just not for sure like if I'm gonna be making my way out to like the northern area and seeing Canyon Beach and Ecola State Park, or if I'm gonna be doing the Columbia Gorge area and seeing all those waterfalls and all that. But basically once I'm done like seeing like stuff around the Oregon coast, no matter which route I end up deciding to take out of those 2 options, I'm planning on making my way to Redwoods and spending like a couple of days there, kind of like an evening day and then like a morning day and all that. So one of the hikes I'm for sure gonna be doing whenever I go to Redwoods is the Grove of Titans hike, and I'm also planning on seeing like the Gold Bluffs beach area and all that. I'm not for sure like what other hikes I'm gonna be doing out there, but I'm for sure gonna be doing the Grove of Titans hike while I'm there and seeing that one beach. So, and then basically the last national park I'm planning on going to is Lassen Volcanics, possibly the last or second last one if I decide to end up going to like the Rocky Mountain area again. I'm for sure gonna like try to do the Manzana and like Reflection Lakes and all that whenever I go out there. I'm not for sure if I pronounced that name right, like the first lake, but I'm gonna for sure at least try to do like see some of those lakes and do that hike. And maybe if I have enough time, I'm not for sure if I'm gonna be doing this, I might try to do the Lassen Peak hike and all that. So it just depends on how much time and energy I have, but. And I'm at least for sure gonna try to do at least one hike whenever I go out there this time, and not like just drive through the park like I did in 2021. So I think whenever I like drive through Utah and I'm like making my way throughout the Salt Lake City area, I think I'm probably gonna try to like stop and see like the Salt Flats, because I think they're pretty close to like the highway, and I think there might actually be like a highway stop you can see, but it's also possible I could like just drive and make a little bit of a detour to see more of the Salt Flats area, but I'm at least for sure gonna be stopping at the highway stop or like one of the stops of the Salt Lake Flats. So it's possible I might stop in Salt Lake City. I'm not for sure if I'm going to or not, or if I'm just gonna drive through it, but it's possible I might stop in Salt Lake City for a little bit if I have enough time. So And then whenever I like make my way into Colorado, I'm planning on staying in like the Steamboat Springs area and like checking out like a couple different hot springs resorts whenever I'm there. And there's also a possibility of like me seeing like a waterfall that's near there like the next morning before I like make my way to like throughout Colorado, depending on which route I end up taking on the last day of the trip. So I think on the last day of the trip, I'm either gonna like, it depends on how much energy and how much time I have, but I'm either gonna try to like see the Winter Park area and do a little bit around there, or I might try to make my way back out to Rocky Mountain National Park and like go back to like the Bear Lake corridor and like do some more of those like lake hikes I didn't do last time I was there. So like those are some possibilities of stuff I might do on the last day of the trip. So that's basically like the overall plan of the trip and like what I'm planning on doing each of the days of the trip and how long I'm gonna be staying at some of the national parks and just some of the places I'm gonna plan on seeing on the trip and some stuff that I might see or might not see. So I did try to like name at least one hike that I was like planning on doing at each of the national parks I'm like for sure gonna be seeing on this trip. I'm not for sure if I'm gonna be stopping at Rocky Mountains again on the last day or not. It kind of just depends on like how much time I have, and I'm not for sure if I'm gonna be going back out there, but I did try to name at least like one trail I'm planning on doing at each of the national parks I'm for sure gonna be seeing on this trip. So, and also the hikes I did name that I'm gonna be doing at each of the national parks are like not the only hikes I'm planning on doing there, by the way. Those are just the hikes I'm like for sure gonna try to do whenever I go out there, and those are just some of the hikes I'm like very set on doing whenever I do this trip. So if I had to like name some of the things I'm looking the most forward to doing on this trip, I'm definitely looking forward to like seeing Glacier for the first time and getting to see like the reflection of the lake and all that and more places throughout the park. And I'm also really looking forward to doing the Phelps Lake hike whenever I go to like Grand Teton and doing their cliff jump there. So those are like some of the things I'm like looking the most forward to doing, but I'm looking forward to like getting to see everything for the first time and getting to like make this a better trip than like the first Pacific Northwest trip was, and getting to like actually do a lot more at some of the national parks than I did the first time, and seeing more national parks and seeing more of the ones I already saw on this trip. So I'm looking forward to like trying to make this an improvement to like the 2021 like Northwest trip that I did. So it's also possible this fall I might either try to do like a return trip out to like Acadia and like do the like Precipitous Trail and like do some more things throughout Acadia and get to see it during the fall time. And it'd probably be a trip where I would fly out there like the Portland, Maine, and drive up there with like a rental car and all that, kind of similar to like the 2024 trip I did, like whenever I like did the Angels Landing and flew out to Vegas and all that. It's possible I might do that, or it's possible I might do like a Blue Ridge Parkway trip during the fall as some like possibilities of stuff I might do this fall. It's not like for sure set in stone and all that like the Pacific Northwest trip I'm gonna be doing is. So I really do hope you enjoyed like this little sit down video and like me giving an update on like what I'm gonna be doing for like this year's summer road trip and some of the plans of like stuff I'm gonna be seeing and some of the hikes I'm planning on doing. So really looking forward to like doing this trip and making an improvement from like the trip that I did like whenever I went to the Pacific Northwest for the first time in 2021. So subscribe to my post notifications on, see what you do next. Stay tuned for like some of the videos I'm gonna be having out before some of these vacation videos, and stay tuned for like some Pacific Northwest videos coming out like probably starting at the beginning of August, sometime around then. So stay tuned for some of these next upcoming videos, and without further ado, I'll see you guys next time.